Welcome to the show. What makes you think that God is the best explanation for why anything exists?
Yeah, hi guys. Sure. So I just wanted to make a point that even though I think that God is the best explanation as to why anything at all exists, it doesn't necessarily mean that that explanation is going to be anything, overwhelmingly compelling. I still think that there's a lot of holes in the God hypothesis, so to speak, but out of all of the options that we do have, it does appear to be the most compelling.
That it's not compelling is not news to Matt or I.
Sorry?
Matt and
And,
I are
and
aware that it's not compelling, so we can continue on.
yeah, and
Sure,
and
but
this issue about how compelling it is or isn't. Why on earth do you think? And which God is most compelling and why?
I'm not advocating for any religious God. The
That's
God
not
that
what I
I would
asked.
be, what did you ask?
I asked which God is most compelling and why.
Okay, and I feel like I was addressing that. So the God that I would say is the most compelling is a non-religious God, as in
I don't know
I'm
what
not
that
advocating.
means.
So just consider it to be a more broader kind of creator type figure rather than a God that possesses qualities that are synonymous with anything that we find in religious scripture.
Okay, so any God that possesses the qualities from religious scripture, we throw out. So any God that is maximally powerful, we just chuck that one out.
I mean, when I talk about qualities that are synonymous with religious scripture, I'm talking more on a moral basis. So a God that is issuing us with 10 commandments to live by, etc. Now, I would say to that point that God would be, by definition, all powerful and all knowing.
Okay, I'm really like almost beyond bored and irritated. I just want to find out what are the properties and qualities of the God that you think exists.
So the God would need to, he would be acting with intentionality. That would be one attribute. The reason why anything at all exists is because he has willed it to exist and thus has intentionality, would be unfathomably powerful and
Do
intelligent,
you know what the word quality means?
but probably not on the same semantic definition that you have, which is going to be
Sure.
some technical
Tell me
definition.
one tell me one feature of the God that you're advocating for.
I just have, unless
I
that,
need you
unless
to
what I
start over and just give me one so that we can address it. Pick one.
acts with intentionality.
Okay. Why is it more probable that the universe is the result of a being that acts with intentionality than not? Well, how did you determine that probability?
Um, so what other options exist to
That's a
explain why anything
fallacy. That is a
exists?
fallacy. That is absolutely an argument from ignorance fallacy where you're shifting the burden of proof. I asked what led you to it. You don't then get to say, what else could there be? So when I say, why is it more probable than not that a God, a being with intentionality, is the explanation for the universe? You don't get to toss that back with a what other explanation could there be, because I'm not the one proposing an explanation for the origin of the universe. I don't think we have any way to explore the origin of the universe. You're the one who's come up with an answer and a specific list of qualities of what is the most probable explanation. Are you going to defend that, or are you going to dodge like everybody else?
Incorrect. I'm not saying that God is the hypothesis that is, explains why anything called.
I'm going to mute you because I don't want to have to call you a liar. What it says here from the call screener, God is the best explanation as to why anything exists at all. When I took the call, I asked you why you believed that God is the best explanation for why there's anything at all. You immediately distanced the God that you're advocating for from a religious God and then gave it the same feature as the religious God, which is acting with intentionality. I then asked you why a God acting intentionally is more probable than other explanations, and you have since dodged. So don't tell me that you're not advocating for a God when I'm specifically asking you to defend the fucking God that you just gave me the fucking property for which is a being that acts with intentionality. Why is that more probable than not?
Am I off mute?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can we just make a very quick point of clarity here? The purpose of this call was to demonstrate why God is the best explanation as to why
Then do
anything
it and
exists.
stop fucking do it. Stop with the other shit and do it. If you're saying God is the best explanation for the universe and you're saying that God is an intentional agent, then how is it not a perfectly acceptable question for me to ask you, why is it more probable than not that the origin of the universe is an intentional agent? What's wrong with that question? What's wrong with that question?
There's nothing wrong with the question. There's
Then
everything that's
why
wrong with
the
your
fuck did you
attitude,
object to that
and there's
question?
everything that's wrong
Why
with
did
your
you object
attitude.
to that question?
Chill, dude. Chill.
Why did you object to that question?
I didn't object to the question. I'm just trying to understand, really.
You didn't object to that question. I don't know. I'm not going to say what happened. Everybody can rewind and find out if Amir did in fact object to that question. But because I'm pretty sure I didn't just fucking waste all this time trying to get you to answer the question that you didn't object to. So why is it more probable? Why is it more probable than not that the cause of the universe is an intentional agent?
Yeah, I mean, look, so I would say that the origins of space-time, matter, and energy cannot be contained by itself. Space-time, matter, and energy is not responsible for the origins of space-time, matter, and energy. It would
what makes you think that matter and energy had an origin?
Well, from everything that I understand, when it comes to mathematics, we can't have an infinite chain of causes.
No, that's correct. That's correct. But I've never met a cosmologist who suggested that matter and energy had an origin. So I'm wondering what makes you think matter and energy had an origin.
Well, my understanding is that the standard view in cosmology is that there was a starting point.
No. What do you think the singularity was?
My understanding again is that the singularity is something that cannot exist in the real world, and this is why scientists are looking for a theory of everything.
Okay.
We understand
so
that
I'm going to let you continue with your explanation, but understand.
You guys continuously make a point when you guys are being interrupted, but when I'm trying to actually
you're going to really love this because I was
going to let you return.
You. Yeah. Literally, Paul was just telling you that he's going to let you continue, despite the fact that you have demonstrated you don't have a good understanding of this. But in none of this has anything to do, even if your supposition that matter and energy had an origin, which is not consistent with the best findings of science, isn't something that we could explore. But even if you were correct that it had an origin, you have yet to explain why an intentional agent is the best explanation of that origin. So are you going to keep dancing around, or are you going to answer the question that I asked you 5 minutes ago that you fucking objected to?
In order for something to be the best explanation, it needs to have more explanatory power than the other options that exist. Do we agree on that?
I agree. God has no explanatory power because we explain things in terms of other things we understand. You can't solve a mystery by appealing to a bigger mystery.
Okay, so we do agree that in order for something to be the best explanation, it needs to have more explanatory power than the other options. So the question that I'm going to first ask you guys is, what other options are there besides God?
No, sir, that's not the way this works. I just got done explaining to you that this isn't the way it works. I'm not in any way, let me try and explain this using the tiniest words possible. I am not claiming that I know what the best explanation for the universe is. My position is that I don't know, and I'm unaware whether anybody else knows either. You are calling in to say that you do know what the best explanation is, and I've asked how you know this, and you have repeatedly avoided it, and then tried to say that the best explanation is the one with the most explanatory power, which I pointed out cannot be true for God, because we don't understand God and we explain things in terms of other things that are understood. God has zero explanatory power now, and you don't get to avoid that response by asking us to present other potential hypotheses. You need to learn how the burden of proof works and fucking meet it. So put up or shut up.
Am I on mute?
You were never on mute, you whiny little bitch.
Jesus Christ, Matt. You need to really take a lesson on etiquette.
Okay, let me mute you again. I don't need lessons on etiquette. I've been doing this for a long time. You called in to defend a proposition. I've asked you questions about that proposition. You have whined like a little bitch and avoided it like a little coward. Now, I'm going to try this one more time. Are you going to present a defense for why you are convinced that the best explanation for the universe, for anything existing at all, is an agent acting with intent? Yes or no?
Yes, and I already have given an explanation, and before it
No, you
spiraled and
haven't.
descended out of control,
No, you
I had
haven't.
already.
No,
Yes,
you
I have. I
haven't.
have mentioned.
No, okay, I'm going to mute you again. If you've given an explanation for why you think that an intelligent agent is the best explanation, somehow all the rest of us missed it. So give it again and let's confirm that this is actually what you said. What is the explanation for why you are convinced?
The explanation that I have given was that the origins of space, matter, and time have to best be explained by appealing to something that.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again because that's not an explanation for why it needs to be an intelligent agent with a purpose. I acknowledged that even if your boneheadedly stupid claim that space and time and matter had to have an origin, that asserting it has an origin does not in any way affirm that that origin needed to be intelligent. I'm sorry that you can't keep up with these questions, but you have not given an explanation for why an intelligence is required. So now I'm going to unmute you again, and you can say that even if matter and space and time had an origin, why does that require an intelligent agent with purpose, which you have not yet done? So you don't need to repeat yourself. You need to say the best explanation for space and time is an intelligent agent because, and then give the fucking reason.
Wow. Okay, right. Let's start again. So if we grant that the origins of space, matter, and time have a origin that exists outside of space, matter, and time, then the
Which
only
we don't.
thing that can fit. What, dude? Why are you interrupting? Jesus
Okay,
Christ,
here
what did you say?
I'm going to mute you again because this is just too difficult for you. You said if we grant, and all I said was we don't grant that, but for the sake of argument, I will in fact grant this so that you can make some progress. For the sake of argument, the origin, what is the reason for the final time I'm going to ask you? What is the reason that the origin is probably, most probably, an intelligent agent with purpose? Last time.
Hello.
What did I just ask you? What did I just ask you?
Okay, well, I'm not on mute then.
What did I just ask you? What did I just ask you?
You have asked me to demonstrate if we grant, so you can help me make progress in my argument that the origins of space, matter, and time, you know, if we're appealing to something that exists outside of space, matter, and time, why is that demonstrating that it is a God that acts with intentionality?
No.
Is, you know,
Okay.
with intelligence.
I didn't say God. I didn't say God. I said, why is that an agent with intentionality? Go.
An agent, a God, tomato. Okay.
No, you smug little, an agent and a God are not synonymous. You might be able to prove an intelligent agent, but that doesn't necessarily prove it's a God. I'm sorry that you're a sloppy thinker who can't get through this without fucking up every 10 seconds. But I'm going to ask you again, if we grant that space, matter, and time had an origin, why is it that you assert that an agent with intentionality is the most probable explanation for that origin? Try again.
Because there is nothing else that we can possibly fathom that best fits that description. Is there anything?
Congratulations, you are an absolute cartoon. You literally just went straight to the fallacy. There's nothing else we can imagine. Your appeal to personal incredulity. Your argument is it must be an intelligent agent because I can't think of anything else. Thank you for wasting our time, but I don't need to waste time on logical fallacies.
There is no
Do you have a
logical fallacy here.
non-fallacious? Do you have a non-fallacious argument for why that needs to be an intelligent agent? Because your argument was just, we can't imagine anything else, and that's a fucking fallacy.
Wrong, it is not a fallacy. And if I...
It absolutely is. I've already explained it, and I'm done with you now. The very notion that it must be an intelligent agent because you can't think of anything else is the argument from personal incredulity. Go look it up. I'm not wasting any more of my audience's time on you trying to... I'm happy to teach you, but I'm not happy to waste everybody's time to do it. Sign up for a course. I don't even have courses to sell yet, but...
I was going to say, is this a new announcement?
Well, you can pay me and I will tutor you on logical fallacies.